Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Abderrahim Kairi and I'm the Membership and Events Officer at Housing Europe. Today we are presenting Housing Europe members webinar on the EU Green Recovery. My role is to help participants and panelists to run smoothly the webinar. Before we get started, let's review some quick housekeeping items so you know how to participate today. If you are joining us via computer audio, we do recommend you to wear a headset for the best quality. You will have the ability to submit your questions utilizing the chat option in the panel. My colleague Julian will address all the questions you submit, so please feel free to submit all the questions you have during the webinar. In case you would like to take the chance to ask directly your question or to share a comment, we recommend you to address them during the 40 minutes reaction time we dedicated for this. As a follow-up, you will receive the recording of the webinar. In addition, a debriefing report will be published in Our Homes, Our Deal and Housing Europe website. So I would like to encourage you all to sit back, relax, and enjoy the webinar. As part of the agenda, we will start with an introduction to EU renovation objectives and estimated renovation investment in the sector. Sorka Edwards, the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks a lot, Abdul. So in case we are missing our flights, we can, it sounds like a bit like we're going for a flight. We're sitting back and relaxing. So yes, thanks a lot. Just a quick introduction from our side. Sylvia, we haven't actually met in person yet. For your information, so as maybe you've been informed by your colleagues, so Housing Europe brings together the public, social and cooperative housing providers. It's approximately 11% of the total stock and a key player in the social and fair green transition. What we wanted to do today was get a quick update from your side because things have been moving very fast. So we already knew and expected the renovation roadmap before this the COVID pandemic, and we have been delivering our position papers to you, and we have launched our initiative, Our Homes, Our Deal, to bring together the best practice in the sector. But obviously things have sped up a little bit because the renovation of social housing, cooperative and public housing, has been identified as one of the tools which can be used for recovery, particularly because it's a very labor intensive sector. So this is why we thought it was like really, so really happy that you were able to join us today. We thought it was very important for members just to get an update, because here we are in Brussels, we are hearing these policy updates every day, but it's not maybe getting down to the ground. So it's quite an important gesture for us, the fact that so the renovation of housing has been listed as an element in the recovery package. So what we want to do today is look at the expectations and hear about the expectations in a way from DG ENER, from the European Commission, from our sector, but then also, let's say, match them with what they what could be added value from EU level for our members on the ground, and to hear from, let's say, the cold face from those social housing providers who are actually dealing with this difficult situation and trying to plan ahead with also questionable economic scenarios. So just to set off, as Abdu said, we just before the pandemic, indeed, we worked with the European Investment Bank. Dara, my colleague, worked on putting together some figures on what the forecast on construction and renovation looked in the sector. And we estimate that the sector intended to spend an annual 35 billion euro for new building and 23 billion euro for renovation and maintenance. The plan was to renovate about 400,000 units every year. So that was an estimate running over the next 10 years. So obviously we're not going to get the figures today, but we also want to get a feeling on the ground is where are we sticking to those estimates, or is the current economic downturn resulting from COVID-19 going to impact those figures? So we want to get a bit of the feeling from the ground about the expectations coming from Europe, and where there are going to be big economic gaps. Are the new tools which have been put on the table going to help cover those gaps? So we know that will be possible to support even more renovation of social housing through the structural funds, and the new REACT fund will complement that. The sustainability window of the InvestEU is also obviously these are proposals, but the proposal is to double that to 22 billion. The Recovery and Resilience Facility will also allocate some funds, and the Just Transition Fund. So obviously these are all proposals, and it will depend also on member states' recovery strategies as to whether the finance does flow to our sector. But obviously we have to we have to prepare ourselves and do our best to make sure that it does. So these are some of the questions on the table, and I give the floor now to my colleague Julien Dijol, Director of Policy at Housing Europe, to manage the rest of this session.
Thank you very much, Soka and Abdul, for the introduction. I think now it's time to directly move into the discussion, and so we are pleased to have Silvia Rehearsal from the Directorate General on Energy from the European Commission, particularly working on energy efficiency in buildings. And I think it's a great opportunity to have a discussion with the policymakers, or at least the people from the Commission who are proposing policies. And as you know, today, or you may know, today is the deadline for organizations to send their feedback to the European Commission on the roadmap related to the renovation wave. So this webinar also serves as in a way, last opportunity for us to finalize our contribution to this consultation. Of course, the initiative is due to September, so we still have a bit of time, I think, to fine-tune our position. But today is a quite important moment, so I'm happy to have all the people around the table, if I may say, to discuss this. So, Silvia, I think now it's time for you to take the floor, if I may say. And so, yeah, happy to have you with us, even though if it's virtual, it's very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Sorcha and Julian, for giving me the opportunity to present the broad thinking of the aims, approach, and key components of the Renovation Wave initiative, and also, quite importantly, to listen to the views of the housing sector and to take part in an event that will also help me understand your unique knowledge and experience in the type of barriers and solutions for building renovation. So my name is again Silvia Rehearsal. I work in DG Energy on energy efficiency in buildings. The unit deals with energy efficiency of buildings and products, and I'm part of the buildings team. And I'm currently fully involved in the Renovation Wave initiative. As you know, as an important background information, on 27th of May, the Commission made a proposal on the recovery plan for Europe, which makes it clear that our aim is to at least double the annual renovation rate of the existing building stock. As you know, or probably know, with the proposed recovery plan for Europe, the Commission has increased the European funding available for building renovation by doubling the size, in size the sustainable infrastructure window of the InvestEU financing program. This is a program which leverages private investment in building renovation through basically loans and financial products backed by an EU guarantee, and which will provide dedicated financial products for energy renovation of buildings. As you also know, from the press release and the information on the recovery plan for Europe, the Commission has also made available to member states substantial funds under the Recovery and Resilience Facility, which can also be used for the purpose of building renovation in line mainly with priorities under the European semester and the national energy and climate plans. And this facility comes with a proposed budget of 560 billion euro, including an important grant component of up to 310 billion euro. And of course, to support the green transition, the Commission has proposed also additional funding for the Just Transition Fund, as well as under the LIFE program and Horizon Europe. But that's where we stand with the recovery plan for Europe. Now I will move a little bit more on the thinking along the lines of the renovation wave. First of all, our timeline. By the end of September, the Commission plans to adopt a strategic communication with the intention of moving renovation to a higher, building renovation to a higher political level with a flagship initiative. This is it's quite well acknowledged, and I'm sure that you will relate to the observation that renovation has traditionally been a fragmented and technical field, lacking attention, especially at political level. That's why the Commission is eager to come up with this communication with a policy setting character, with an integrated view on boosting energy performance of buildings, and with concrete actions, an action plan with relevant elements, including, of course, establishing links to circularity, broader aspects like circularity, employment and social aspects, digitalization, and so on in a comprehensive manner. Now, of course, that type of initiative inevitably starts with analysis of barriers, of course, not starting from scratch. Already a lot has been done at the time of the clean energy package, but some things have evolved, luckily, in the good direction. And very importantly, look at the pull factors that will allow faster, deeper quality renovation. What we are now doing is that we are still in a process of stock taking, looking at the buildings elements of the national energy and climate plans, the long-term renovation strategies. We have unfortunately only received a limited number. I believe we are at 7 now. Of long-term renovation strategies, which member states had to submit by 10th of March this year under the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive. And we are engaging with stakeholders, a broad array of stakeholders. And thank you, Julian, for mentioning that the deadline for the feedback on the roadmap is today. It's not an end in itself, because indeed, hopefully later this week, we will be launching the open public consultation. So we have prepared a very, I would say, comprehensive, rather long and detailed technical questionnaire that will run as usual under the EU survey platform, and that will be launched hopefully this Friday. We have experienced some administrative delays, but hopefully this Friday the public consultation will go live and will stay live for 4 weeks. So we do hope we will get numerous contributions, and we do hope that you and your members will be in a position to contribute to this rather detailed exercise. Now, I mentioned that the communication will also look into concrete actions, including critically looking at the legislative framework for the energy performance of buildings. Is it fit for the purpose? But also, very importantly, looking at non-legislative tools, overall the enabling framework, information, skills, and the financing elements that we got a big boost on that side as part of the recovery plan proposal. Very importantly, different levels of action are needed. There is so much that we can achieve at EU level alone. So this is why we need a true mobilization at national, regional, and local level to make building renovation and to make the renovation wave a success. So I do believe that it's timely to be here with you and your members who are really instrumental in that kind of stakeholder mobilization, in having a coalition of the willing to make the renovation wave a success and to reach a very granular and small scale sector. So these are really just a few observations where we stand in this exercise, which is quite challenging in terms of timelines and in terms of ambition. And I would be really happy to listen to your side, to your inputs, to your observations and thoughts about what are the barriers and how to overcome those, how to foster the pull factors that will allow faster but also deeper and quality renovation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Silvia, for this very good overview. There's one thing I note from what you said. I mean, I don't know if it's a good news or bad news, but there will be another public consultation on the renovation wave starting probably this week. So I'm sure we will have to bother again our members about more detailed questions, but I think it's very important.
Yeah, indeed, it's another step of our consultative process. We have the feedback period on the roadmap, which is coming to an end today. And the next element in the sequence time-wise is the open public consultation. So we are consulting with stakeholders just in line with our better regulation guidelines, but also beyond, because we've engaged and for good reasons with stakeholders via bilateral meetings, events. We have received numerous position papers and so on. But yes, the questionnaire would be the survey itself, the open public consultation survey would be an important element, and it would be greatly appreciated if you can take the time and contribute.
Yes, we will do so, of course, because it's quite important, of course, for the sector. And despite the years of experience in European projects on energy efficiency issues, sometimes we have the impression that we come back we have to start from zero again and explaining the reality on the ground, and this is important for our sector to be listened to, and to also discuss with policymakers, particularly European Commission. I don't have myself access to the comment file, but I've seen my colleagues saying that for the moment we don't have a specific question for you, Silvia. Just maybe one brief comment. I mean, from our perspective, it's interesting to see how we put the balance between, of course, the importance of increasing renovation efforts, and on the other hand, the notion of affordability and the fact that we need social acceptance for that. Well, unless you give free money to everybody, but this is not exactly the case at the moment. So this balance, this delicate balance between affordability and also push towards more on renovation is important, and the social, cooperative and public housing sector is obviously the sector where this balance is the most or is at its best in a way, because by definition, indeed by nature, our sector is really about striking this balance. And now we're going to give the floor to some of our members who are going to explain a bit what they are doing on the ground to increase the renovation efforts, and so in a way to implement the renovation wave initiative, but also what they expect from the EU. And it will be interesting to see the kind of expectation. And as you may imagine, our sector is really careful when it's about new legislation, because the sector needs stability and long-term vision of what we want to achieve. And therefore, the kind of expectations that the sector has can vary, of course, compared to expectations from other corners, particularly policymakers or the industry in particular. So I think now we're going to give the floor to Karine Puyol, our colleague from France, who is going to briefly explain what the French Federation of Social Housing is doing in terms of increasing the renovation effort, and what do they expect from the EU in order to support them in this trend. Karine, I hope you are with us. Yes, cool, okay. Perfect. Floor is yours.
Audio or just with video? I don't know what is the best.
Well, as you now we see. Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we see you. I see your screen now. We see your screen. Is it your screen? Yes, that you put. So yes. It's up to you. Yeah, we see the screen.
Okay.
So I wish.
So hello everyone. So for those who don't know me, my name is Karine Puyol. I'm working for Union Sociale pour l'Habitat. So Union Sociale pour l'Habitat is the French Federation of Social Housing. So we represent a housing provider across France, and indeed we are very we are committed, and we would like to be committed in this renovation way. So just a few data about social housing in France. So we have a portfolio of 4.6 million of housing units, social housing units to manage. We build an average of 75,000 housing per year, and we refurbish 120,000 units per year. So we have a long commitment since 2008-2009 now in energy reforms, so to increase energy performance of our building. And we also have we have good consumer of ERDF, so European Regional Fund, to support this project. To support this project. So Europe for us is very important in terms of to improve this movement. So when the renovation wave has been put in place, have been put in reflection at the European level, we have a national reflection of what do we expect from this renovation wave and what can we commit in this. Since 2015, social housing providers have been involved in the construction for new low emission housing. So to be in the low carbon emission could be an opportunity for us. So for the new construction, but also go through the renovation of building. Yes, and to be to be extended for all new building from 2021. So we have an estimation. We did an estimation of investment needed. It's very large because it's 5 to 10 billion of euros per annum, depending on the average performance level needed. And this need of investment is go to 2050. So now to 2050. In job creation, it has an important impact, and it could be an opportunity in the context of the recovery plan. So we propose 10 field of action for the renovation wave. And in this field of action, we propose 10 proposals. So the field of action is to turn low emission the low emission refurbishment of housing into a European priority. So it means to create the condition required for undertaking low emission refurbishment of housing on a massive scale. It means also to have a proposal at the financial way. So indeed, so InvestEU could provide the necessary guarantee for our social housing enterprise. Increase cohesion policy support for the social housing sector and low carbon renovation is also very important for us. And to have a national strategy decline into regional strategy, because ERDF and our enterprise have more regional action. So it's important to have this territorial and regional. The second field of action is to foster the development of cluster of stakeholders in the construction and rehabilitation field. So in this context of crisis, it's important to support job creation, but also to support SMEs, enterprise who work in the field of the construction and the renovation. So it could be interesting that the renovation wave take into account or think about how can Europe could support this type of cluster of enterprise, of social housing provider, of all the partnership who could be really who could have an interesting action in this project of renovation. The third field of action is to integrate the principle of the circular economy into the planning and the implementation of low emission refurbishment. So at this stage, so at this moment, we are more in terms of in the stage of experimentation with circular economy. But we think that it could be important to think more and more and to experiment circular economy and to implement it in the strategy of the renovation wave. But yes, we in this context, renovation wave strategy at level, we need to fostering large-scale urban experimentation in terms of low-emission construction and refurbishment. To comply with the principle of recycling and during the new regulation. And the fourth field of action is also very important to take into account is, and Julien said it before, for people, increase of the rent. So we always have to have in mind that we have to answer low carbon energy at the low cost to social housing tenants. Yes, and what another proposal in this renovation wave important for our member is fostering the development of decentralized energy production and collective consumption for self-generated energy. I have finished my presentation, my intervention.
Thank you.
Is it okay?
Yes, thank you. Yes, do you hear us? Do you hear us?
Ah, c'est bon.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Karine. Very, very useful, and a lot of elements that we'd like to discuss with before the European Commission. I mean, this particularly how to foster a local cluster of enterprise while indeed complying with the public procurement rules. How to unlock the necessary finance and how to promote the regional experience, and while also trying to push from the EU level. So it's a lot of interesting elements, but I'd like maybe directly to go to the Netherlands with Robin to see what's the Dutch version of, in a way, the renovation wave, in particular, how they've managed to indeed combine strong ambition on the one hand, and on the other hand, maintaining affordability for their tenants. So, Robin, I don't know if you hear us. Fine?
Yeah, I hear you very well. I just noticed that my webcam is pointed in the other direction somehow, so I'm trying to figure that out.
Yes,
and I should share my presentation. I might need some help with that.
Yeah.
Can you see it now, or?
Yes.
Okay, then I will talk through it. Just one moment. Okay. So Julian, you mentioned you can see my presentation, right? Or?
Yes, sir, I do see it, and I suppose I'm not the only one. So I think everyone can see it. Yes.
Okay, then I will just talk to.
We see your notes and everything. So
yeah, that's why I'm trying to trying to get to full screen mode, but somehow this is not working. I really miss real life events where you can actually do this differently. I think I found it. Yeah. Okay, so my presentation is called a socially inclusive renovation wave, because I think this is really what it is about for ADAS, combining the social element of the wave or the transition with the green element of the transition. So a few quick words about ADAS. We are the Dutch Federation for Social Housing Providers, and our members manage about 1/3 of the total building stock in the Netherlands, so quite a large building stock. I'm responsible for the European affairs. And for us, it really is about making a just transition. So our ambition is to have a CO2 neutral building stock in 2050. But we should never forget that our raison d'être of our members is to provide affordable housing. That's why we're here on this earth. So it is about a just transition. And for us, this just transition materializes to reaching cost neutrality for the tenants. So basically, our members operate on the principle that if you do renovate a dwelling, you may increase the rent, but the rent increase may never be larger or higher than the amount of money you save on your energy bill. The cost neutrality for the tenant is the most important principle. If you don't do this, you're not avoiding energy poverty, because you're passing on the bill to the tenants. At the same time, this means that a large part of this investment is done by our members. To put it very bluntly, it's a myth that you can pay the entire renovation project back to the savings on the energy bill. There's always some extra investment needed. Having said that, that means that investments in energy performance, for us, they're not actually investment, they're costs. With costs that we are happy to take because we think it's very important, but still they remain costs. It costs us money. And we are at the same time responsible for offering affordable housing. And I think Julian put it in a very precise way, that we are engaged in a very delicate balancing act between the things that we are meant to do, offering affordable housing, offering sufficient housing, which means investing in new construction, and making sure our housing stock becomes CO2 neutral. And our legislation, the Dutch legislation, demands that all our finances are being invested in these three goals. But at the same time, we expect that within a year or maybe 5 or 10, our sector will reach the financial boundaries of what is possible. So this delicate balancing act between those three goals will become virtually impossible. So how do you deal with that? Well, I get back to that later. First, I would like to show how we're actually doing as a sector. And here you see the energy performance of social housing providers in the Netherlands as an energy index. And you can see on this graph that by 2021, our sector will reach an average energy index of 1.4, which in the Netherlands classifies as a label B. So that's going quite well. Of course, there's still quite a lot of work to do. And by doing that, we have a focus on trying to lower the renovation costs. I think the Netherlands is one of the countries that already forwarded the long run renovation plan. And there you also see that. And to lower these renovation costs, we try to create scale. We try to create volume and bundling of projects. And by doing so, we want to make sure that the construction sector is standardizing projects, and we give them an incentive to further industrialize the way they renovate buildings. We focus on long-term cooperation with construction companies. So we have a joint learning curve, and together we can find out how to make the cost of renovation projects more efficient and lower. This also implies a different relationship with suppliers. You don't just give an assignment to a supplier anymore, give them the technical standards and pull off. No, you work together. So you jointly develop the process, you try to improve it together. And it also means that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel again. Internally at ADIS, we call this the train wagon strategy, which also explains why there is a picture of a wooden toy train on my presentation. So basically the idea here is to work in production trains that pick up a pipeline of projects immediately after each other. So every wagon is, for example, a district that's going to be renovated. First district, this district, then the next, then the next, then the next. That also means that you work in a permanent team together with construction companies as your own employees. You have a joint learning curve, you develop and improve the process together, and you work on standard detailing so that the wheel does not have to be reinvented every time. So it's all about creating that continuous flow of projects over the year, trying to get the cost of the renovation go down. Still, a public contribution is still needed to compensate for that extra cost. As mentioned before, energy investments are for us not investments, they're energy costs. And to alleviate energy poverty, because we do not want to pass those costs on to our members. For that, we're happy with the communication last week from the European Commission on EU funding for renovation, also from InvestEU and EIB financing. My final comment that I would like to make, or actually two final comments, is that funding-wise and both regulatory-wise, we need a good mix between installation and installation. And of course, we believe in a principle of energy efficiency first. But if you're insulating a building, you get to a certain point where it is not efficient anymore to insulate it even further. It will cost you a lot of resources, and the energy performance of the building does not significantly go up. For that part, sometimes it's wiser just to have renewable energy. It's a two-front battle between energy efficiency and renewables. And it's also be very important to focus on that in the financing. And as mentioned before, it remains a very delicate balance for us to do this. And that's why we're also a bit, I would say, conservative when it comes to too detailed regulations, such as, well, let's name it binding renovation rates, because that could really offset that balance, making it impossible for us to continue in the way we're doing. That's the end of my contribution. Thank you. I should stop sharing my screen, I think. Am I still here?
Yes, sorry, I'm just waiting for Julien to take on. Okay. Just you are self-muted, Julien. Okay, now you can speak.
Yeah, thank you. Because I don't know why, but you muted me. That's okay. Everybody can hear me now? Yeah, fine.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, Robin. Very interesting. But I mean, a lot of interesting things. I know we have a question now from Sweden about the funding aspect, but before that, I had a questions related to the last point that Robin mentioned, and it's a question to the European Commission. I don't know if Sylvia is still with us.
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Sorry, because I can't see all the people here. Yeah, the last point is about regulation, legislation and regulation. How far can we go in terms of mandatory minimum energy performance standards, for instance? We know that this is one of the things that some policymakers in the European Parliament are calling for. And I think that the point made by Robin was quite clear, is that to frame it a bit in a very very blunt way, I mean, we cannot regulate energy efficiency in buildings as we regulate energy performance of fridges or appliances, for instance. And there's always a point at which we need to look at other things than purely the building envelope, and particularly what Robin mentioned is the role of installations, so renewable energy, the importance of the global CO2 footprint, and of looking at the CO2 emissions as an important, in a way, control indicator. So I just want to know if at this point of the reflection, Sylvia, do you know where the balance will be between the legislation related to this kind of thing, and on the one hand, and on the other hand, things that will help to promote the local or national or regional experiences, like the one we've seen in the Netherlands and in France? So where are we in terms of this reflection on the balance between those aspects?
Yes, thank you. Maybe I, before replying to your question, I clarify one point. Now, as I said, we are taking an integrated approach to building renovation, which means boosting energy performance by applying the energy efficiency first principle, but also deploying renewables, preparing for climate impacts, and in general incorporating circular economy, waste treatment, and pollution prevention principles. So especially on the point of renewables, of course, in a way, I believe it's also my mistake, but we have internalized this integrated approach so much on our side that it almost goes without saying that here on energy performance of buildings, we are talking energy efficiency and renewables. Having said that, I think I'm not in a position to give you any particular details at this stage, apart from what I said, that the Commission will review the EU regulatory framework on energy performance of buildings in order to establish whether it is really fit for the purpose of setting the path for the decarbonization of the EU building stock. I think that the jury is still not even out there for the question that you have raised on basically on mandatory renovation requirements or mandatory performance requirements. Yes, as you know, the European Parliament is going to, I believe, in the beginning of July, vote on our own initiative report where this is put forward. But I think it's premature to share anything more on the side of the Commission. Having said that, of course, we are watching with interest concrete examples to this end coming from member states, coming, for instance, from France. I believe also the Netherlands has plans to this end on non-residential buildings, however. So yeah, I don't think I can be any more concrete, but yeah.
Thank you. I mean, that is interesting anyway, and of course we will convey all our experience, particularly via a new website that we've just launched. I mean, a few weeks ago, which is called Our Homes, Our Deal. And in our response to the consultation to the roadmaps today, we will anyway put a reference to this website, which gather a lot of experience on the ground on the different approaches. And I think what matters very much for us is that the European Commission use the observation of the reality as a basis for the proposal for legislation or for revision of the different directives. So we will make sure that this is heard at the highest level, hopefully. Now the question by our colleague from Sweden, Eileen Farid, the head of international affairs in public housing Sweden. She was wondering, I mean, it's a quite broad question. Is there any EU funds that the national public housing companies could seek for renovation of buildings now, today, and later as part of the Renovation Wave initiative? So what is about the funding aspect of it? Sorry, Sylvia, I don't know if the question was indeed rather for you.
Yeah, well, again, perhaps, sorry, on my previous reply, I forgot also to mention the point that, of course, your apprehensions and in terms of the social setting and affordability of housing very much resonate on our side. So yeah, the energy poverty and in general the affordability of housing aspect will be reflected in the actions that will form part of the renovation wave. When it comes to concrete funding sources, I'm afraid I really can't share anything specifically, but normally the ERDF, InvestEU, and the funding sources of that type are accessible to, I presume, to your members, to social housing providers. But I don't have a full overview of what is available at national level, also based on EU funding. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that here there is a scope for exchange also with other of your members. I mean.
Yes, I mean, this is always the question, the important question. And indeed, you mentioned the structural funds. This is true. I mean, it depends on whether the country in question has put renovation of housing as part of the priorities of the operational programs. And this was not the case in all countries so far. And I think Sweden was a country where there was no ERDF funding dedicated to renovation of public buildings. So that explains why indeed it could be a bit limited in Sweden. And with the green recovery, so there will be an increase of the ERDF allocation, but of course it has to, I mean, it has to go through what we call the operational programs. So it has to be put as a priority by the regions or the member state. So it's very much a national lobbying to do on that. There's another big part of potential funding, which is the European Investment Bank, and which is increasingly important for the sector. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, we have a colleague from the EIB in the audience, Frank Lee, who is head of division on financial instruments, and he will tell much more better than I. But the EIB has currently more than 11 billion euro of loan to social housing, so new construction and renovation. And this goes to basically potentially all countries in the EU, including Sweden. So this is something to bear in mind. Of course, this is loans. We are talking about loans. On the contrary, ERDF are non-repayable grants. I mean, majority of it. But you can combine both. ERDF can be used also to create financial instruments. So there's kind of plenty of possibility, but it requires quite a lot of knowledge because we're not talking about the same level of management, and so it's not easy. So we hope that there will be enough what we call technical assistance and support to the different housing providers in the different countries to help them finding the right channel for their projects. And this is part of our job. Obviously, it is part of the job of the EIB and the European Commission to also help make that clear enough for the potential project promoters. So I don't see any more questions so far. Oh yeah, I have a question from Robin. A question, is it a question from, well, a question. Sorry, to Robin. Are Dutch social housing providers expected to offer greater energy efficiency and higher design standards than private sector landlords? And if so, how is that justified by the government? So I don't know exactly what that means, justified by the government, but basically, Robin, do you, yeah, can you tell us?
I get the question very well.
Yeah.
I don't believe that's a interpretation. That's already the case. So the social housing sector is front runner in a transition and moving ahead. On the one hand, this is very strange because then you're starting the transition with the people with the lowest income. On the other hand, what we see is that the social housing sector, because of its non-profit status, is sometimes more willing to take those steps, and it also has the organizational level to move first. That was the end of my answering.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just trying to unmute Julia again.
Yeah, do you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. So thank you, Robin. Actually, the question was from our colleague Dara Turnbull, the research coordinator. So I don't know if Dara, yeah, if you got the answer to your question.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Robin.
Okay, thank you. So yes, we've heard from members the different approach to the renovation. I think this is first important point. To our knowledge, there is no one single route towards decarbonization of the buildings, and we have to make sure that if there is a revision of the directives, we don't have this mistake that there would be one single route toward or one single road towards the decarbonization. I mean, we have to really look into the different circumstances. The experience and the relationship with the construction sector, which can vary from one country to another. So that's a very first important point to our knowledge. The second point is that obviously the sector is very much engaged into this integrated approach that Sylvia was talking about, which is bringing together the different elements, not only looking at the energy performance of the envelope, the building envelope, but also looking at other aspects, including circular economy. But this later point, circular economy, is something that a lot of people talk about, but which require a complete shift in terms of how we process material, how we also dispose material, and it's not something that's going to happen like tomorrow. So it's a really different way of producing and constructing and maintaining the sector. So it will require time and money. And this extra funding is also something that is important to look at. Most of the European Commission funding in terms of innovation and forward-looking aspect are part of what we call Horizon Europe, so the research branch of the EU funding. And we will continue to work to get more information on how we can do circular economy adapted to the building sector. But we need also the more mainstream funding to do that. So the EIB loans are also important as an important tool to support circular economy. And we know that the new energy lending policy of the EIB is quite ambitious in the sense that they want to promote circular economy, not only simply renovation or new buildings, but they want those new buildings and renovated buildings to be a bit more than that, and to look at, for instance, the circular economy. So that's something it is challenging, of course, for the sector, because we are not alone in it. We need to discuss with the construction sector as well. And the point made by Robin is quite important. To do this kind of ambitious circular economy plans, you need to have long-term cooperation with the construction sector. And this long-term cooperation means you need to have clear view of where you need to go in terms of energy performance. So the last thing we need is a constant change of regulation and legislation, which would then, put people into a situation where they don't know exactly what they need to build or what they need to renovate in the future. So this long-term stability of this legislative framework is very important for the cooperation between the housing sector and the construction sector. We also have not touched upon the question of public procurement, and there are plenty of opportunities now within public procurement, but then probably room for improvement. And in the strategic communication on the renovation wave in September, October, we hope, and we will support that. We will hope that there will be also a reflection on how to promote the more cooperative, in a way, if I may say, cooperative form of procuring the works for the procuring entities. Sylvia, I don't know if you have questions to our members, or if you want to make some comments before we come to the close of our webinar.
Thank you very much, Julian. Maybe really, I want to also thank all the speakers. I've noted down very interesting points, and I'm happy that broadly they're in line with our thinking. I perhaps flag a few of those, including clustering of stakeholders in the construction sector and partnerships. And in this context, I think that the notion of one-stop shops is quite important, has delivered interesting results in different member states. I also note down, of course, the district approach, the neighborhood approach in general, industrialization of renovation. These are all topics that feature in our preparatory work. Of course, you just raised the point of procurement in general. You know that as part of the review of the Energy Efficiency Directive, there is Article 6 that deals with public procurement. So this will be covered by our review. And yeah, I thank you very much for sharing those your perspectives, and we count on you not only for the public consultation, but also for true mobilization at national, regional, and local level to make this happen. But also, please, I never waste an opportunity to remind that we so far have only, I believe, 7 long-term renovation strategies. So your support, the support of stakeholders in reminding your government about this, which is not about this obligation, which is not purely a formalistic obligation. It's a very important stepping stone to comprehensive thinking ahead for really delivering decarbonized building stock. We count on your support also for this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to about the long-term renovation strategies. I think it's very important, particularly because as part of the the recovery package, particularly the recovery and resilience facility, will work through essentially the European semester, but also the national energy and climate plans, which encompass the long-term renovation strategies, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, member states, in a way, they will receive the money from the recovery and resilience facility if they comply with a certain number of recommendations from the EU, and if they have submit the long-term renovation strategies to, in a way, justify why they are asking for EU money on certain number of things related to sustainability and green recovery. So yeah, in a way, it's very important for our members to push their government about having the best long-term renovation strategies possible, because it will be the basis for the national recovery plans that the governments will submit to the European Commission in order to get the money. It's a bit my reading of the situation, Sylvia. I don't know if you share that as well.
Yeah, I can only agree with you on the importance of the long-term renovation strategies. Of course, we have also the building elements of the national energy and climate plans, which are obviously the national energy and climate plans are much more comprehensive, cover a number of dimensions. They're broader documents, whereas the long-term renovation strategies, this is really about the building sector, and I can't emphasize enough really the importance also for future planning, not only of investment, but of policies and measures, of having those of having good, well thought through and well consulted long-term renovation strategies. And we already, from those few ones that we get, there are some really fantastic examples of serious and ambitious thinking in a comprehensive manner, combining enabling conditions, financing, all the necessary elements to move forward in deploying renovation to the building stock.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very useful to indeed to have you with us today. I will conclude now the webinar, and just reminding our members that this is indeed one webinar, but there will be at least 2 other webinars before the summer. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have a discussion on housing exclusion and homelessness, and how the recovery package, the European Recovery Plan, can help members address this increasingly challenging situation in relation to COVID, of course, but also other aspects. So that's the 22nd of June, sorry. And on the 6th of July, we have a webinar on the aging well at home, which encompasses a lot of dimension related to independent living, but also to the health aspect. And that has been particularly acute during those challenging times. So this is a series of members webinars for members to exchange, and each time we have the opportunity to have an external speaker to discuss with us. So thank you very much to everyone. Thank you to Abdou for helping us setting the scene and the whole instruments that help us having a good discussion today. So see you or talk to you in 2 weeks' time for the next webinar on housing exclusion and homelessness. In the meantime, we'll be in touch online for sure. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day.